Hey, everybody, we're here for another opportunity to interview a family from our church, and I have the pleasure today of interviewing Bob and Amy Anderson. So, Bob and Amy Anderson, say hi.
Hello.
That was enthusiastic. Hey, how are you guys doing?
We're doing very well, thank you.
Yeah, long time no see.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah, it has. Have you guys been doing well?
Yeah, we're doing okay.
Mhm.
Been really kind of enjoying ourselves. Getting out, taking walks, and going to the farm and a few different things, and so we're having a good time.
Good. You have a farm?
Yeah.
What's at the farm?
Oh, just land.
The other day when we were there on the lake, there were geese and there were quail and squirrels and turkeys that we saw.
That's beautiful.
And fish in the water, but we didn't fish.
That's really beautiful. That's really neat. Did you know that Christy and us and I and the kids, we just bought 12 chickens?
Oh, great.
Yeah, that's good.
I'm envy. I've always wanted chickens.
Yeah. No, we just bought 12 of them. I just finished the coop and the little run that they have, area to run that they have, and then we just put in 4 new raised gardens, and so we've been pretty busy.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, so it's all been good. I noticed behind you there's 3 pictures. Who are those pictures of?
Well, it's
Show him your grandma.
the one on your right would be Amy's great grandmother.
Great grandmother. Great.
Great grandmother, yeah.
Yeah.
So the one that's right above Amy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
Okay.
my great grandmother.
And the one above me is my great grandmother. And the
Wow.
one in the middle is our 2 kids when they were little.
We figured that's where the DNA came together there in
Right
our
there.
kids.
And that's why, yes, I didn't think that picture was quite as old as the other 2. But
No.
can you imagine having to sit there as still as they did just to hold that pose to get a picture taken?
Yeah, that was a long time ago.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Well, very neat. So has life changed for you guys at all since the pandemic, or since we've been in our homes?
Well, just a little bit, we don't get to go to church, and we don't get to go to Bible studies, and
Yeah.
we don't get to go much anyplace, so except on our own.
But Bob, you said that you've been enjoying it.
Yeah,
How come?
well, I got a wonderful cook here for one thing, and we've been enjoying each other, and we've got a lot of stuff around the house to play with. We've got lots of pictures and lots of old pictures, and
Mm-hmm.
we're trying to get some of that kind of organized, which we've never done. We've done a lot of traveling, and we're trying to put it in some kind of order.
Go ahead, Amy.
I was just going to say we have a lot of picture albums that we haven't had time to look at since we got back from the trips. So kind of reviewing all that. Also, one thing that I think we're both enjoying is Bible reading without having to be somewhere at a certain time as soon as you get done, which tends to rush you a little bit, like, okay, I got to finish this chapter. We have just been discovering so many things, that little details in the scriptures, especially from the Old Testament, that are easy to forget or overlook. But for some reason, it's really clear when you're not rushed on where you're going next. Yeah.
Would you share something that you've been reading and that has made an impact, or?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, we've been, well, we finished up First Samuel, and we're in Second Samuel now, and kind of looking at the characters in there and going back and seeing how they were related to each other.
Mm-hmm.
If you just read straight through it, you kind of forget what this guy did. But now when we come to it, we say, well, you know, how was he related to so-and-so, you know?
Yeah, lots of cousins and nephews and, you know, and the family there with between Saul and David's family, and all those, they've got big, long, funny sounding names, but if you, I guess I never had the time before to say which ones were cousins and on
Right.
whose side of the family and so forth. And it just makes the intrigue all the more. We just finished on Absalom today about his deceitfulness.
You know, well, that kind of what we talked about on Sunday is it just seems like that just kept running through their family, that deceitfulness, and I know just as much as the next person, some of those things that pass down family lines that are negative traits, they are hard to break. It almost seems like it's in the DNA somehow.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you were preaching on Joseph, and boy, he was really on the outs with his 11 brother, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely was. So, well, let me ask you just a few fun questions if I can.
Sure.
What did you guys, I mean, you both are retired now. What did you guys do as a career? What was your career?
Okay, you want to go first?
Okay, I'll go first. I worked 36 years in the social work field.
Mm-hmm.
DCFS, and then extended DCFS programs at the health department. And well, state's attorney's office wasn't connected with DCFS. So anyway, that's what I did 36 years. I started out in Kansas City for a couple of years before we were married. And then we married in 68. I moved to Quincy, and all told it was 36 years that I worked in social work.
Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, I guess I did to a certain extent to stay with it. There are lots of times when, you know, you're like, oh, this is too hard. It's hopeless and that kind of thing. But yeah, for the most part, I enjoyed it. Worked with a lot of good people and worked with a lot of families that faced a lot of obstacles and needs, but a lot of happy endings.
You know, as far as case management is concerned, it seems like that from the last I heard, the average lifespan of a caseworker is about 3 years. Now, some of that depends upon how much you get paid. DCFS tend to pay better than, you know, than maybe like a smaller organization in town, and they work longer there. But why would that be the case? Why do you think? What makes it so challenging for someone to stick around in that field?
Well, I really didn't know it was that short of a span. A lot of the people I worked with worked 20, 25, 30 years. In fact, one of the disappointments with the pandemic, we just had a party planned here at our house. The 51 previous DCFS caseworkers were coming. A few spouses mixed in.
Oh.
I don't know exactly how many were caseworkers, supervisors, clerical staff. They were coming. We were having a going away party for a lady that had worked there. She'd been retired for a while, but she'd worked there for probably 30 years. A very dedicated, wonderful person. And we had to call the party off because of the COVID thing, because she's moving out of town. She was supposed to move today. Of course, that got put on hold too. But anyway, yeah, in Quincy, I think probably the average stay there is much more than three years.
Yeah.
But,
So I'm sorry to hear though that got canceled. I mean, that'd have been fun.
Yeah, well, we decided to maybe she would come back to town because everybody was so excited about it. Maybe she would come back for a visit next summer. Hopefully things will be changed and we'll replan it. We'll redo it then. So
Okay.
that's where we stand with that.
When did you retire?
I retired in 2004.
Wow.
16
Okay.
years. Mhm.
So what about you, Bob? What did you do?
Well, I went to engineering school, got my bachelor's in mechanical engineering, went to work for Gardner Denver. And the only job I've ever had in my life. I started out in the research department and worked there for approximately 10 years. And then I went up into engineering and I was head of the design group for the rotary compressors. And I did that for about 10 more years. And then I became the overall product manager for rotary compressors. And that went for about 15 years. So that's my 35 years.
35 years and all in one place.
All in one place.
And I will add, mostly very happy. He always went to work a half an hour early to get there a half an hour early. And he truly was excited every morning, especially in the early years. I mean, I guess later on, well, every job has a little bit of up and down, but nothing major. He truly loved it.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I like mechanical things, and rotary screw compressors, most people don't know what they are, and they're hard to describe to people, but I like them.
Now Bob, you built your own car from the ground up, didn't you?
Yeah,
And what kind of car was that?
that's a Shelby Cobra.
And you still have that, right?
Yes.
So we shouldn't give away your address just in case somebody might want it.
No,
Well, let me ask you this question, both of you. How long have you been Christians?
I was baptized when I was 9. And I
Okay.
was blessed to be, born into a Christian family. It was the first place I ever went in my life. When I was like 2 weeks old, went to the country church. And so my whole life, might say, I was baptized when I was 9.
And you went to Lincoln Christian, didn't you?
Yes, I did.
For college?
Yeah, graduated.
For how long?
Well, 4 years. I graduated there in 65.
In 19, and it was called Lincoln Christian College at the time?
Mm-hmm. Actually, the first 6 months, it was during my freshman year that it became Lincoln Christian College. It was Lincoln Bible Seminary before that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and Lincoln is just celebrating, and now it's called Lincoln Christian University. They keep
Right.
adding, more majors and classes, and but it was it's celebrating their 75th graduating class this spring. Would have
Hopefully they get to continue on. I mean, a lot of colleges are probably having a hard time right now envisioning the future. So Lincoln's a good one, and I hope that they have a way into the future.
Yeah, I think they do. I was just reading some of the new things they're merging with Lincoln College, which is a secular college there, that they're offering a program where the Lincoln College kids can live on the LCU campus and get an associate's degree from LCU at the same time they're getting their bachelor's degree at Lincoln College in law enforcement.
But they are merging the two schools together?
They're not exactly merging, but they're combining, the way I read it, they're combining where they can work together. I guess they've got more dorm room maybe or something.
Yes, they have some open dorms.
And that the students can get 2 degrees simultaneously, get an associate's degree from Lincoln Christian University and a bachelor's degree from Lincoln.
Fascinating.
Lincoln College, yeah. So things like that.
What about you, Bob? How long have you been a Christian?
Well, I had two hitches out. I started out, my folks took me to church when I was just a little fella, and
Mm-hmm.
I was sprinkled early on, and the denomination I was in did some things that I didn't feel was very Christ-like, and I fell away for several years. And so,
When you were in college.
yeah, so this lady had to bring me back.
All right. The Lord brought him back.
And,
You were flirting to convert there, were you, Amy?
I'm one of her conversions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's it's been an interesting ride. You know, all the things that I've looked at. Currently, I'm very interested in the scientific end of God. There's a fellow by the name of Eric Metaxas.
Very good man.
Yeah, he's basically an author, but you can go on YouTube and he interviews a lot of very famous scientists, and they really get into the deep stuff.
Yeah.
And it's it's interesting to have them talk about these atheist physicists that will get involved in looking at the universe, and they convert themselves because they see that, you know, this stuff just didn't happen.
Yeah.
So science and theology are very closely related, I believe.
Yeah. Well, even as we were planting this week, you know, and I was thinking about the process of a plant growing, and just so you take this seed and you put it in dirt, you water it, and then something begins to happen, and it's just amazing the precision that's required for that to work. That it had to be created. The idea had to be thought up.
Yeah.
You know, for that to work.
Yeah, the Bible tells us that we really have no excuse because it's all around us and we just recognize what it is.
Absolutely, amen.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys this: what's a proud moment in life? What can you identify a moment that you consider that was really proud of that moment?
For me, I think landing him was a big one, but the children, our children.
Tell us about them.
Well, there they are. They were 3 and 8. They're now 50 and 45 almost. They're just wonderful Christian people. They're well, excuse me. They're smart. They're kind. They're loving. They're good parents. They work hard. They both aren't getting a break here with COVID. I don't know. They're just, the Bible tells us that our children, grandchildren, are our blessing, and God has really been good to us.
Yeah, we have 7 grandchildren, and there's such a tremendous difference in them from one end to the other.
Yeah.
They're all individuals.
Well, we spend a lot of time going over each one, talking about them and what they're doing, and
that's beautiful.
Their unique gifts that they have. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, knowing you guys, though, it would never surprise me that kids haven't or have grown up in the Lord. I mean, the way that you guys carry yourself and who you are to others and who you are in the Lord, you are a strong rock foundation for so many other people, and so to let alone your children, you've served the Lord faithfully. And I've only got to know you for about 4 years now, and it's obvious. So thank you for everything you guys have done in that way.
Well, thank you.
Let me ask you this then. To get to where you are in life, you couldn't have done it by yourself. So who throughout your life have you admired or looked up to that has maybe helped you along the way?
Well, I've had a lot of, I would call mentors. My father is one. I don't think he got much past 8th grade, but I've told a lot of people that most of the things I did in engineering, I learned from my father on the farm. He was a pretty sharp fellow. And then the first guy I worked for was he was actually a microbiologist, but he worked as a chemist and an engineer. And he taught me an awful lot. And then I was involved with another fellow from Sweden that was probably the best engineer I've ever met. Plus, he was a great guy. And his father was a minister, by the way. So he was a good Christian. And the other person in my life was Dr. Dennis Pruitt. And he really got me involved in missions. He was a Navy fighter pilot in the Second World War. And he became a doctor and a missionary over in Africa. And quite an amazing guy. So I had a lot of inspiration from those guys.
Another person I think Bob will agree with me that was very meaningful in his life was, Bob said, I brought him back to the Lord or whatever, but God provides people along the way. And so we were going to the Church of Christ. I happened to, through my work, the Church of Christ here in town was just a wonderful group of people, and about 8 of those families became foster parents. That's how I got acquainted with them. Well, in the process, the minister, who was a scientist himself, where was it, McDonnell Douglas, or where did he work? On the plastics, outer space stuff and everything. And he and Bob spent a lot of hours together, and he was very scientifically minded. And I think he had a lot to do with Bob's acceptance that, God was.
Old Lou Scheffler, he was an interesting guy.
Yeah. God's been good.
I think he could quote the Bible from Genesis to Revelation.
Yeah.
I introduced him to another minister I knew. They got to talking about the Bible, and one of them would quote a verse, and then the other one would quote a verse, and they did that for about an hour. I just couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
What about you, Amy? Who's inspired you in your life?
Well, my mom and dad a lot, and all my relatives, but I had a Sunday school teacher who was also my 1st through 4th grade teacher, and she was my Sunday school teacher for those 4 years. And she was just really a warm, compassionate, saintly woman, and she read us Christian stories every morning in prayer, at school. I went to Bethel, Missouri, to the grade school. And I think she probably had a lot. She was still my Sunday school teacher when I was baptized young. And all the Christian people, one person I might mention is, some people might remember Opal Varner. She's been gone 3 years now, but her dad was one of the elders at Bethel Christian Church. And that whole church was, there was all special people. I mean, I just remember special. Then we moved back to the farm, and let's see, when I was 10. And we had a little country church. And my dad went around, the country church had closed down. And my dad went around and said, you know, we need to have church here. It was probably, what, 2 miles or 3 from the house.
Yeah, a couple of miles.
And knocking on doors and said, you know, we'd like to get the church going again. It had been there, I don't know, in the 1800s. It was pretty active little country church, but it had fallen by the wayside. So anyway, lots of young families came, and from then on till I graduated from high school and left home at 18, it was a very active church.
Wow.
Lots of ministers there that were influential.
Now, when you went to Lincoln, you played a little basketball, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that was fun.
You were on the first girls basketball team, is that correct?
Yeah, my roommate and I talked to the coach of the boys team if we could start a girls team. And we did, and we played other Christian colleges and Greenville and other small colleges. Had a lot of fun.
That's fun.
And they still have the team there.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
And you were the one that started it, so that's fun. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let me ask you guys one more question. If you could encourage everyone that's listening with maybe a verse or a reference that's been on your mind, what would it be?
You want to go first?
Well, I like a lot of verses, but one that I guess I would have to say one of my favorites is Micah 6:8. What does the Lord require of you? That's to act justly, and love mercy, walk humbly with your God. But there's a lot of verses in there.
But that's a good one. That's a wonderful verse.
I love the Bible. It's
yeah.
I always tell my Sunday school class that it's a miracle you can hold in your hand.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, no, and people need encouragement right now, Bob, and that's a great verse to sometimes we get our minds set on things they shouldn't be, and that's simple. What you just said is so simple. The 3 things that can help us to stay focused, and especially in the midst of chaos.
Yeah.
So thank you. What about you, Amy?
Well, I never can come up with a favorite color, favorite food, because it seems like I like everything. But one verse that, again, kind of brings the whole concept of God into view for me, is, to simplify it, is, he was asked, what is the greatest commandment? And he said, the greatest commandment is to love the Lord thy God with all thy heart, mind, and soul. And the second is like it, to love your neighbor as yourself. So I think if I only had one verse to say, okay, how do I do this? It's all right there. I mean, it includes everything, 10 commandments, really, down to those 2 commandments. If the 10 seem like too much, you could just go to that second commandment. It'll give you some guidelines on how to treat your neighbors. One Bible verse that keeps popping in my mind since we've been home there is from Ecclesiastes, is to do with your hand, do what your hand finds to do. And it changes a little bit. Your hand finds lots of things to do around the house and the yard and on whatever. There's lots of work to be done, and
right.
Your priorities shift. I mean, when you can't go out and you can't meet with people and everything, it just kind of throws what's the priority? I mean, none of us have enough hours in the day, enough time. Our life's just too short to to do all the things that we want to do. But I think to find contentment, but what you find, what's right there in front of you, and buckle in and do that.
It's really called us to simplify, and I've greatly appreciated it. It's something that's been extremely beneficial to me. It's especially someone who's kind of on the move a lot and fast paced. I've been focusing on things that I probably haven't focused on in years, you know, and it's been a true blessing in ways.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time, and everything that you've said today will be an encouragement to people. So thank you so much for that, and we'll talk to you soon. Okay.
Okay. Tell everybody hello for us.
Yeah,
Okay, we will. All right.
we miss everybody.
Okay.
Bye bye.
Bye.